Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Finance, Assistant Minister for Finance, friends from the media, good morning. Tula vanaka to you all. I'm absolutely delighted to join the Deputy Prime Minister this morning for this signing. The signing is following through on an announcement that Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong made when she was in Fiji after her meeting with Prime Minister Rabuka at the Pacific Islands Forum Special Leaders meeting last month. And that is to provide an additional 10 million Australian dollars in financing for this very important Australian funded schools reconstruction program in the northern district of Lalabalavu, a very special part of Fiji that I'm yet to travel to, but I'm looking forward to visiting next week, DPM. What this means is that it brings our total funding for that cyclone recovery program to 28.5 million Australian dollars, or 43 million Australian dollars, which is really significant. From an Australian perspective, this program is not just about rebuilding damaged schools from tropical cyclones Yasa and Anna in 2020 and 2021. It's about a broader blueprint for Australia in terms of the sort of climate resilient infrastructure, the standards we'd like to meet here in Fiji and across the Pacific. So all 9 schools will be built to a very high level of environmental sustainability with renewable energy in all school buildings, solar power. There'll be very strong local economic impact in terms of local content will be a big feature of this program. In terms of Fijian companies and suppliers, all Fijian materials being sourced, and lots of jobs for people, including people from the local communities affected by the cyclones. And we'll be aiming for a very high level of climate and disaster resilient infrastructure. These school buildings will be able to withstand a Category 5 tropical cyclone. So this is what the additional funding and why it's so significant. It's because it's not just a normal infrastructure program. There are, of course, the higher costs associated with construction in a post-COVID economy, both here and around the world. But also it's those much higher standards of infrastructure development that we're looking to achieve across the 9 schools that's meant that we've really wanted to invest more and do the projects to the right sort of standard as best as we can. Now, in terms of timing, I'd acknowledge, Deputy Prime Minister, I'd acknowledge very much that for the students in these 9 schools have been living in really less than ideal conditions for some time now. And I'm very happy to say that construction now in 7 of the 9 schools is underway, and we're expecting the first completed school to be available for opening in around about June or mid-year. So we're really delighted about that. As I said, very happy to be here to manage this this signing with the Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, MC, and I want to welcome all of you, especially His Excellency the Australian High Commissioner John Williams. Thank you very much for those remarks. Let me say that on behalf of the Government of Fiji and indeed the Honourable Prime Minister, I would like to thank the Australian Government for all the support that has been provided for Fiji over the years, including the $300 million Fijian in budget support for the last 3 years, and provision of over 1 million doses of vaccines during the COVID-19 pandemic, and support generally during times of natural disasters and other economic shocks have always been appreciated by the government and the people of Fiji. Let me also take this opportunity to say that over the years, our bilateral relationship with Australia in the areas of security, defence, health, education, climate change, trade and economic cooperation has deepened, and we as a government, we want to further deepen that engagement, partnership, to make it more meaningful and sustainable, forever. We are working closely also with the Australian Infrastructure Financing Facility for the Pacific for projects relating to road renewal and resealing, bridge replacement, climate change adaptation and flood mitigation. So today we are very pleased to officially sign the 3rd amendment to the direct funding arrangement for the Fiji Cyclone Recovery Program with the Australian Government to facilitate additional funding support, as stated by His Excellency, AUD $10 million, which is about 15.4 million Fijian, for the rehabilitation of 9 schools across Fiji. And I want to name those 9 schools because the people in those areas, parents and students would be very happy to know this. Namely, Lokutu Secondary School, Lokutu District School, Nukumbulu Primary School, Maramarua District School, Tuketi District School, Bua District School, Dama District School, Wailebu West District School, Ratuluke Memorial School. This program, in addition to these schools, also caters for the rehabilitation of 2 health centers, health facilities, the Viuni and Kondavu health centers. And let me say this, last week, and Excellency, you'll enjoy your visit to Vanuatu next week. We were there last week with our team from the Ministry of Finance, and we visited some of these schools like Lakutu District School. The news was received with a lot of delight and happiness that these schools would be built, with the support of the Australian government. We were also very pleased to know that the government's decision to provide $200 to every student from preschool right up to high school was very, very timely and critical for the parents in those areas, and indeed throughout the country, where we were able to support more than 214,000 students through that allocation of $50 million. The additional funding of 10 million Australian brings the total commitment under the program to 28.5 million Australian dollars, close to 44 million Fijian dollars. This includes the 25.5 million dollars for the 9 schools and 3 million Australian dollars for the 2 health facilities. And you may recall that this additional commitment of AUD 10 million, and as you quite rightly stated, was announced by the Australian Foreign Minister, Honourable Penny Wong, in a meeting with the Honourable Prime Minister. We also understand, this is for the interest of the media, that work has started on several of these schools and contracts have been awarded. The design team, I'm told, has also put in significant consideration, as alluded to by His Excellency, to ensure that there is climate proofing of this new critical infrastructure, as some of these schools may also be used for evacuation centers in the event of natural disasters. So, and in addition to that, some of the designs will cater for disability access to ensure that those category of people who need help are included within the infrastructure construction, and the understanding that it will all be very, very inclusive. As I said earlier, when we visited these schools, Excellency, we actually felt that many of these students and parents were really suffering. I mean, there were students still in tents. And so I think this support is very timely. And again, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Australian government and the people of Australia for providing us this continued support. And it is going to go a long way to ensuring that our children in those schools have good facilities and that they are happy about going to schools and being part of those facilities. So thank you once again for that.